We got a piece here from Bloomberg Business Week. The headline is, "The richest Americans keep the economy booming. What happens if they stop spending?" The answer is, the economy goes into a deep recession.
Yeah, then we would be quite screwed, Janelle, is the answer to that question. So she also makes it seem as though
there's also no signs of this happening.
Yeah, I wanted to caveat that it's not an inevitability.
It's not even something. It's not even something that's showing up in the data right now.
Can we change when to if?
Yes. If U.S. wealthy people stop spending,
we're all in trouble.
It would be catastrophic.
Or even slow down.
Well, if they slow down, it might not be catastrophic.
Right,
it could just be bad. But if they stopped spending, yes, it would be very, very bad.
Why? Something we've talked about a fair bit. Today, the top 10% of income earners represent about half of total consumer spending. That is, as far as I know, an all-time high since we've been tracking the data.
The norm is like 35%.
And what's the norm, right? Like, I guess the historical average in the United States, I'm sure it differs country to country. But yes, it is a very high portion today. And if it all just suddenly stopped, that would be hugely problematic. But again, you need some evidence. I guess the only piece of evidence that she found here was data from VantageScore, which is a credit scoring company. In particular, they found that the share of consumers making more than $150,000 who were 60 to 89 days late on their debt payments. So, again, pretty narrow group, but 150K or more of household income and 60 to 89 days late on their debt payments. That rate more than doubled in January compared to 2 years ago. My problem here, because I don't have all the data, is did it double from 1 to 2 or did it double from 15 to 30? Because that's a huge difference.
Right. This is like, hey, the risk of heart attacks in 8-year-olds has doubled, but like it's still
1/100th
I'm not saying that
of
it
a
actually
percent.
has. I'm just saying like it's equivalent to something that doesn't really happen often. So I think, look, when we talk about data points that we can look at to tell if wealthy people are spending, there are probably 4 or 5 that are the key drivers on this. The first is housing. When you look at who actually buys houses, it is not people with low incomes because they often don't have any money saved for a down payment and, especially in this environment, don't have the ability to buy into this pricing right now. So when we talk housing, generally we're talking people with above average incomes. Other places, cars, new cars specifically. Average transaction price for a new vehicle continues to hover high 40s, like 47, 48,000. I haven't seen like the latest monthly data, but it's been right around there. Someone who is earning $30,000 a year in income is not buying a new vehicle for $48,000.
True.
It is someone who is making $100,000, $120,000, $150,000, $200,000. Those are the people that are buying those cars. Other things that you can look at: hotel and airplane travel stats. Not just, what you're seeing in terms of passenger volume, but also hear from the airlines in terms of what they're seeing. That has been one area that has been, guided down a little bit, and that Delta came out and said, yeah, we're starting to see some signs of, a slowdown in air travel bookings. That is also meshed with what we have seen from hotels, where every week who is it who puts this out? I want to make sure that I get the name correct on this. It is, what does STR stand for even? I don't know. But there's an industry group, STR, that does stuff with the hotel data and everything. And their data shows that occupancy now in hotels starting to run a little bit below trend levels for the last 25 years. And that's been, development in the last couple of weeks.
Smith Travel Research.
Sure, that sounds great. So ultimately,
you just think of that?
No, that's actually what it is.
Neither
STR refers to Smith Travel Research. It's a leading provider
name.
of data benchmarking, analytics, and marketplace insights.
Sounds great. So you've got some signs that travel might be slowing down a little bit.
Yep.
The housing market, you're seeing pressure on pricing, but volumes are still okay-ish. And auto sales, I don't think we've seen any major shift in auto sales in terms of volumes.
Nothing discernible.
It's been moved from like month to month, but nothing big there.
The real areas that I can point to are like you said, airlines and hotels. The only real two that I can look at in terms of luxury that are seeing a pullback. But as we pointed out, even on the airline side, the pullback seemingly came in part from domestic and business travel.
Yes.
Whereas international travel stayed up.
Yeah.
And that's the luxury of all luxuries, right? You do not... 99% of American employees do not need to travel overseas for work.
Probably higher than that.
Yeah. It's a very small fraction of people who actually need to travel overseas for work, and therefore, that is a huge discretionary item.
So, yes, if the richest Americans stopped spending, big problem. Are there any signs of that? Maybe like 1.5 around the edges, but it's teensy tiny little things that we're seeing, and most of the data is absolutely completely fine at this point, and we'll see how it evolves to see if there is any shift there. But I continue to come back to this. The hard data right now is not showing a meaningful shift in trajectory in the basically throughout the entirety of 2025 so far. We'll see where it goes, but for now, you're not seeing any major shifts in consumer spending trends.